Hey everybody, welcome to, I think I'm recording this for week 3. This is the first video that I am recording after having read some of your material. So that always feels better for me. I feel like, class has started and these are my students, and I start getting to know your writing personalities and try to build a rapport with you through my feedback on your discussion board post. So by the way, all of my feedback I think is now there on discussion post 0 and also discussion post 1. So you can go in and take a look there. And I do encourage you to always return to your post, first of all, to respond to people who maybe have asked you a question or given you some additional information, and certainly to read my brilliant treatise on your work. So do return there. That is, as I think I said in the intro video and in the syllabus, it's where I kind of do my most teaching, my most one-on-one teaching. It's also, I think, a good place for you to take a look at how I provide feedback and maybe model some of that in your own feedback. I'm seeing right now everybody's being real nice to one another, and what I hope begins to happen is, for example, I'm catching lots of people's errors in their writing and just in fulfilling the assignment, and even just some basic, there's something going wrong here and no one is mentioning it. So I think you're all trying to be real positive to one another, and that's great. But remember, this is one of the few shots you get to give and receive feedback that you just can't get anywhere else. And as long as you have one another's best interest at heart, which is improving your work, then there shouldn't be a problem. So I really encourage you to get in there. In fact, and I hope I didn't ask permission to do this, so I hope nobody minds too much. But in discussion post 1, if you were to go into, and I may mess up your name and I'm really sorry, Teresa Yaki's post, remember her, if you read her introduction, her official name there is Sharon, but she goes by Teresa Yaki's post, you can take a look there and you can see my feedback as well, but take a look at Casey Kiefer's comment to Teresa. It was thorough, it gave some positive feedback, and it gave her some areas of improvement or things to think on. It was the kind of follow-up criticism or commentary that I would hope to see more of you doing on one another's posts. And then in addition to that, look at how Teresa responded to Casey, which I think is a great way of doing it, of just taking it in. I know sometimes it's real hard to get criticism from your peers, and it's real hard to explain yourself, or not to explain yourself. And sometimes just taking it in and accepting it and even talking about what you'd consider next time, that's kind of fine. In fact, if you were to be in a creative writing class, when people workshop or edit one another's work, the person who wrote it literally has to be silent during the whole time. People talk about their work, and the writer must be silent the whole time. And even at the end, the writer isn't allowed to explain themselves or anything like that. They just sort of take it in. And so, even though it doesn't have to be like that on our discussion post, do think about that, of just the benefits of just taking it in as opposed to defending yourself. I'm not gonna, if somebody gets something wrong or something like that, or you meant to do something differently, you can tell me about it if I don't catch it, but usually in my follow-up feedback, I think you'll see say things like, oh, I agree with what so-and-so said, or you don't really have to worry about that comment from so-and-so because it's working in this way, and, so I'll clarify any follow-up that you get that you have questions about. And so I just want to go ahead and say that. And then also, in regards to your work, while I'm talking about it, I gave this advice to so many people, and I know it's the kind of thing I forget to tell people, but it's great stuff, actually, is that you should be reading aloud your work before you post it and send it. And I know that sounds kind of crazy and maybe too time-consuming, but it is. I write articles for a living that are posted on all kinds of different places, and that is what every editor tells freelance writers like myself to do, and that's what I do. It catches so many proofreading errors, and I definitely make them myself. It's why proofreading is so important. And I read them as if there's an audience. I used to have a cat, and I would read to him as if he was my audience. I don't know if he liked that much, but he didn't seem to care too much. Anyway, read it aloud because you'll catch a lot of these typos that I'm catching, and mention that. So for that. And then one more thing is that some folks are a little light in the follow-up area. Some people are not responding at all, not following up on anybody else's posts. Other folks, maybe one or two people. I'd like you to respond to at least 3 other students, and honestly, you're going to get more out of it the more people you respond to anyway. So do try to vary it up, but get to it, respond to reading and responding to at least 3 other people's assignments, and really engage with that post. Some of you are going way beyond 3, which is great because it builds community and really helps you all. So that's what I want to say about the work that I've seen so far, and do feel free to reach out to me individually if you like. And I know sometimes it's hard to get feedback in a public forum, even from the instructor, and so I hope that you'll all see that my feedback is respectful and is designed to help you be better at what you're doing. Some of you are already great, and I'll help make you even better, hopefully, or I'll help point out ways in which you can become better. And anyway, do let me know if any comment strikes you as off-putting in some way. Because that's certainly not my intention, and I want to make sure I can clarify that rather than have you seething at home somewhere. Okay, so what is coming up for week 3? First of all, you are going to take a grammar quiz, and I know nobody likes these things. When I think of this quiz, I think of it as this long quiz, but it's not that long, but it is it's challenging, and very few people get all the answers right. In fact, I don't think anybody has ever gotten all the answers right in any of my classes. But the good thing about this quiz is it does tell you why answers are wrong and also why they're right. And frequently those explanations are new and can teach you something even if you got the answer right. So you can learn why it's right. So do take that quiz because I do want you to say just a little bit about your experience taking it at the beginning of your discussion post for this week. And then the main part of the discussion post is, in fact, a kind of a memo email that you'll be writing. So that'll take a little bit there. And I think the scenario is pretty well laid out in the discussion board. Do feel free to post questions in the frequently asked questions part of the discussion board. In the past, and I'm sorry I'm speaking quick, but that's how you get through this. In the past, students have asked me about having reading quizzes and that sort of thing, and I know students like that, but I guess I want to say these discussion board posts, I do frame them with the idea that it's based on your reading. I mean, it may not be as directly based as if I asked you about the horrific thing that happens in Truth for Chapter 16, and really it is cringeworthy what happens in Truth 16. It's just awful. Anyway, you can look forward to that. I could give you a quiz on what went wrong there, but this is a writing class. It's about communication, so I don't want to see you give me the right answers. I want to see you think. I want to see what you come up with. And so these discussion board posts, they really are quizzes. They are just definitely more in an essay format than an A, B, C, or D format, or a short answer format. So you're getting quizzed. And I do want to say that the heaviest weighted thing in this entire course is the discussion board post. And you get a score for your post, and you get a score for those follow-ups. So if you haven't been engaged in those, get engaged, because that is 35% of your grade is all those discussion board posts. It doesn't matter whether something is weighted more with points and that sort of thing. Discussion board is where it happens. That's the big meat. Even the report that will be due at the end of the semester, which we'll talk about in the future, even that is only 30% of your grade. So the discussion board, that's the meat of your grade and the course. And again, where most of the teaching happens. So anyway, the stuff that you'll be reading about today is, or for this week, is again certainly about writing in general. There's a lot about organization, and including, I love the chapters that happen in this section of the reading, this week's reading, because it's about kind of a psychological background to writing, like why we write in the way that we do, what we're considering when we're writing, what's behind what's being written. There's just so much going on in writing. It's not just words on the page, and I'm sure you're aware of that. And what I really like about our textbook is that it gets at that, because these are the kind of things that they don't, that aren't taught normally in, say, a business communication class. But this really gets at some of the psychological things behind it. And not theoretical psychological either, but like the nitty-gritty stuff. I like that this doesn't waste time on fluff. So there's great things in there about, putting the bottom thing that you write at the top, and there's all kinds of great tips in here. So make sure that you are taking the time to read this. Some of this you know or you do it naturally, but that doesn't mean thinking about it explicitly isn't a good plan. So again, there's some good stuff in here. You will find that some of the things you read about, say, this week, you think to yourself, man, it would have been nice to know that when I did discussion post number 1 or number 2, but that's how it should be. I hope that you'll read things and think, I wish I'd known that, because you should be able to think about things you've already done and think about how you do them better with new knowledge. So I hope you'll start noting these things for your progress report, which will be due soon, and again, we'll talk about that a little bit more. I'm going to start getting assignment sheets up there, but kind of playing catch-up as I finally get to read your posts and that kind of thing. So you've got a great cringe-worthy scenario that happens in this book, in the reading. I would not want to be that person. You'll get to, there's, I think, in chapter 20, you'll pick up some skills that you can use in your feedback to one another and in your review of your own work. And I do have some recommended reading. It's just, it's not that many pages, but it might help you with that grammar quiz, and it really is it's a great place to get some resources for that. I did want to say, about the feedback to one another. Just real explicitly, you may not feel like you're qualified to give grammar or spelling advice. That's fine. You may feel like you're not qualified to say, hey, I don't think you did the assignment right. You may not feel like it's your place to say some kind of thing, but there are things that I'm reading in people's responses where the sentence just does not make sense. And you do not have to be a grammar queen or king to know that the sentence does not make sense. I don't need you to even know what is wrong with the sentence. But if you can tell the person, hey, your second sentence in paragraph 2 doesn't make any sense, I think you need to reword it, even that is good feedback. So you do not have to be a major word scholar or wordsmith to give good feedback. You can also tell people, someone, and I'm so sorry, I don't remember who it was, but someone gave some feedback to somebody about how there wasn't much energy in discussion post 1 in their response to discussion post 1, which was great feedback. It's not concrete, right? It doesn't give specific examples, but it just says, hey, there's not much energy in what you've written. That is good feedback. That's important feedback. In fact, I built up on that feedback in my own response to the person. So there are many things you can offer in your feedback to folks without treading on areas you don't feel qualified to address. Certainly, if you know what's going on grammar-wise, or you know a good way to fix something, or you've got specific things to suggest, by all means, do it. It'll save me time. But if you just have some general feedback, if you see that something isn't quite working, or any of those things I've already mentioned, please do get in there and give each other some good feedback, and stop being so nice. Respectful. Be respectful and encouraging, but not quite as vaguely encouraging as you have been. All right, so I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I hope you all have a good week. And we'll be celebrating Martin Luther King Day this coming weekend as I'm recording this, and I hope that you found some meaning in the day for yourself as well. Take care.